Right, welcome to this Tactica video for the Tyranids. Exciting time really. I've always liked the Tyranid force. There's an army that really stands out in the 40k universe, and I've put an army together here based on the new codex and sort of leaning towards a new philosophy for Tyranids. So it's an exciting one, this one. So what we're going to do is I'm going to run through each unit, why I chose it, and then we're going to look at the whole army, and you'll see the philosophy and the tactica of the whole force. And then once you know what the army is, you can see how it performs in games. I think it'll do pretty well, but this particular force is untested at the moment, so we'll see what happens. A couple of new units in the force as well. So Games Workshop released a new Tyranid codex. There's been some complaints, people saying Tyranids once again aren't as strong as they could be, but I've got high hopes for this army here, but we'll have to see how it performs in games. Tyranids have been sort of a medium performing army on the channel so far. They've done pretty well. They're certainly a force to be reckoned with. But this particular army has been changed from any other army that I've put together before. You'll see some major differences coming in, but hopefully for the better. So if you're interested in collecting Tyranids, this video hopefully will show you what a finished army can look like. To start off with, you're looking to get an HQ and a couple of troops. That's your first starting point, and that's like the core of your force if you're going to go for a bound army, and then you build it up from there. I'd try and do bound armies, get a slight advantage with it, and just have a couple of troops. There's not too much of a bother if you're putting together a themed army. It's not really too much of a problem. So that's what I've done. It's a bound force, this one. It's 1850 points that I'm going to show you. Then the theme that I've gone for, you can see it on the painting tutorial, it's like a red aggressive force, and that's going to reflect the philosophy of this army, which is assault based. Some people go for shooty type armies, some go for balanced shooting and assault. Mine is just raw monster power in this force, real sort of combat based, some speed and tough units. That's what I've gone for. I want a force that people can look at and be terrified by, not just to see one or two monstrous creatures, but to see a whole spread of nasty looking stuff, and I think that can be a successful way to go for the Tyranids. But we'll have to see. You'll have to watch the battle reports that we've got coming up to see if the philosophy pays off. But especially now with Tyranids, Games Workshop have released a load of plastic kits, the big monstrous creatures, a lot of variety to choose from, and they look absolutely superb. So I've taken advantage of that, and I've bought into some of the big models that Games Workshop have made, and they look really, really nice, and they look really intimidating on the battlefield. It's an impressive army. It's one that could have a very strong theme behind it. The colour scheme is the same for the entire force, which really unites it together. So I think it's an army that looks very impressive and intimidating and very striking. So 40k wouldn't be the same without Tyranids, and now with the new codex and the new models, it's a good time to collect them. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to go through the army in order. So we're going to go through with HQ first, and then troops, and then show you what I've got and why, and then you'll see how that aims towards that philosophy, that assault-based, speed-based philosophy that I want for the Tyranid army. Right, I'm just going to run through the book here. First thing is HQ, which I've always struggled with. So strengths and weaknesses of the Tyranids. Combat power is a strength. I think the monstrous creatures are a big strength as well. They're able to field some very tough stuff with loads of attacks that can chew through anything on the table. Weaknesses, I would see long range shooting perhaps as a weakness, or sort of a low ballistic skill can be a disadvantage. I know the Tyranids have got some good stuff. And perhaps one of the big things would be a lack of invuln saves, which is very handy to have in a game. Tyranids don't really have them, which is a big disadvantage. So, but I think it's an army with great potential, and I can't see any reason why you can't put together an army that performs really well. So we're going to go on to HQs. Some of the artwork, well, the artwork in this codex is absolutely superb. Really, really nice. And actually don't usually read all of this stuff in the codexes, but all these background stories, I've read through them. Really, really good. So check out the Tyranid codex for a full sort of deeper review. I'm just going to run through here. So for HQ then, it's the Hive Tyrant I've gone for. The others, usually my philosophy is a cheap HQ, but for Tyranids, with the opportunity to have it as a monstrous creature and a tough fighting unit, I've spent points on him. So, Hive Tyrant, I think he's just seems to be my favourite at the moment. Now, in the old force, I used to have him on foot, and then I protect him, and he worked out a lot of points, and he would just slowly move across the table, absorbing wounds, and then sort of turn 5, turn 6, he'd reach into combat and make a difference. I've seen an opportunity now to take a Hive Tyrant but give him wings, and that's what I've done. So my HQ choice is Winged Hive Tyrant. So Winged Hive Tyrant I've gone for, and so it's 165 points, 35 points for wings, which is quite expensive, but that makes him airborne, so it'll keep him alive a bit longer, and that adds tremendous speed to that HQ unit as well. So the only other upgrade I've given him, a couple of upgrades actually, regenerate, 30 points. I want to keep this guy alive. He's got 4 wounds, and so that ability to regenerate, so it's 4+ or each turn if he has a wound, and he regains the wound back. Just a little extra that will help keep him alive. Strength and toughness 6, which is pretty good. Weapon skill 8, which is brilliant. A base of 4 attacks, and then 2 pairs of scythe and talons. It's one here, and then sort of the feet count as the other pair. So that's an extra attack there. So it's base of 4, and then +1, 5, 6 attacks on the charge. And then I had spare points, so I gave him the upgrade called Old Adversary, 15 points. And that means that he will re-roll 1s in combat. So his weapon skill 8 is going to be hit on 3s. If he gets 1s, he re-rolls them, and he also re-rolls 1s for wounding in close combat as well. So it makes him more reliable. So I think that's a good HQ to take. Expensive enough. Total for that is 245 points. A lot of points, but he's mobile, tough, a lot of attacks, reliable. It's also got the Psycho Mastery level 2, which is good, and the Tyranid psychic powers are pretty good. So that's an added bonus, pretty good bonus actually to have. So I'm happy with HQ. Temptation is to, well, is to avoid the temptation to just, because he's a flyer, just to fly him straight into trouble. I think that's not a good idea. To try and keep him alive and protect him, especially because he's the commander. So there he is, nice reliable choice, and look forward to using him in the force. What I've done is the figure doesn't come like this. I've cut him off from his original base, and then put a rod drilled up through the tail here, and then put a steel rod that runs straight up inside, and then made it into a, it's come through the base here, and then made it into this shape, glued it, and then stuck some lead and some coins underneath, and that just lifts him up. It marks him out that he is actually a flying monstrous creature. I think that's made him look bigger, more intimidating, and added some height to the force. So really happy with him. Next HQ, it's an HQ in the book, Tervagon, but you're allowed to take it as a troops choice. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip over to troops here, and we'll go back to the HQ for the stats. So it's a termagant brood here, and then the rules say scuttling swarm, for every termagant brood of 30 models included in your army, you can include 1 tervagon as a troops choice. So taking a monstrous creature as a troops choice is a really good advantage to have. So it's 40 points for 10. So 30 is 120 points. So, and they look really good as a group of 30. So you can see them here. I think these guys look good when they're in mass. 30 is a big unit. I'm not expecting them to do too much, really. They're just for crowding objectives. This is the defensive part of the force. These are designed just to move on to objectives, to sit there, hold, and then just to shoot anything that comes close. I'm not relying on these guys for too much. There's a nice big group of 30. And then to go with them is the Tervagon, another brilliant monstrous creature that Games Workshop have produced. Absolutely superb. So these two go together. No upgrades for them, just a flat 120 points. That grants you my troops choice and gives me the ability to then take this turbo gun as a troops as well. Again, nice strength and toughness. Wounds, brilliant. 6 wounds on this guy. So it's another tough, monstrous creature the opponent's got to deal with. And if you can take him hiding behind cover, let him breed loads of these gaunts here, and it'd be a tough opponent to weed out. Good for objectives. To have a nice monstrous creature sitting on objectives is a nightmare for the opponent to deal with. So it's also Psycho Master level 1, so that's going to add to your psychic warp charge pool that you can generate. You can spawn the Termagaunts, as I said, so he'll breed 3d6 of these every turn, until he rolls a double, in which case he has to stop. Absolutely brilliant ability to generate points into your force. I like doing it with the Necrons, and you can do it with the Tyranids with this turbo gun here. So he'll generate a unit every turn and just keep growing that mass. So you've got all these troops sitting around and then a monstrous creature sort of guarding them. Really good combination. And then I want to keep him alive. So what I've done is I've given him, he's 195 points basic, and I've given him regenerate as well. I'm trying to keep these monstrous creatures alive in the game. They are going to take wounds, they're going to be targeted, but 6 wounds is a lot to take out in a turn. So I'm anticipating that the opponent might knock down 2 or 3 wounds in a turn. So if I grant the ability for that monstrous creature to gain some wounds back each turn, it's just going to keep him alive for a bit longer. So I think it's points well spent. So 30 points regeneration for him, and the way the force worked out to get it to 1850 points exactly, I had 5 spare points, so I just upgraded him to take cluster spines, which is range 18, strength 5 large blast, which is not too bad if he appears near some troops. You can let out some shooting there. So that's him done. So that's the troops part of the army. It's minimum troops, but pretty good, and the ability for him to generate new troops choices each turn is really good. And the idea is that the assault part of the force moves in, and they're so occupied trying to deal with the other Tyranid units that these will not be touched, and they can just breed away and just increase in size, bigger and bigger, and hold objectives and sit there. So this is the kind of part that holds back and performs that task. As I said before in other videos, Tactica videos, you try and have an assault and defense part to your army, and you balance that out however you want. Half your force can be attacking, half defending, depending on the race, what army you're doing. For Tyranids, very assault based, so really this is the only defensive part of the force. The rest of the army is geared towards the assault, similar to the Eldar, which is mostly assault as well. So that's that done. That's given me now my HQ, nice dependable fast unit. He'll join in the assault, and then my troops section will fulfill the defensive part of the force. So that's the sort of the HQ and then the core of the army. And then now what we're going to look at is the part of my force that's going to go out there and take on the enemy. And an assault force is going to need to be able to deal with any part of the enemy army. So it's going to have to deal with vehicles, heavy infantry, hordes of light infantry, other monstrous creatures, and so on. So you'll see that as we move on to the next section. So that's troops done. Total for the turbo gun is 130 points, including the cluster spines and the regenerate. Again, pretty expensive, but it's the kind of unit I want to last for the whole game, be a presence on the battlefield, not be blown away, but just to sit there and last out the whole game. Right, so for the next part, the assault part of the army, I've changed plans, and we're going for like an infiltrating deep strike force. It's different, it's going to be different. I think one of the units that's come off really well in this codex, value for points, is the Lictors, and I don't usually take them in an army, but I've come up with this kind of a plan for using them. With Lictors you can deep strike them in, or infiltrate them in. There's no scat, you just place them wherever you want. They've got loads of abilities, stealth and so on, different things, and they have this pheromone trail where other units that arrive next to them within 6 won't scatter by deep strike, and I can imagine that being handy with these other units that I'm planning to take. So what I've gone for is a unit of 2 lictors at 50 points each, so that's 100 points, and then another unit, and this time 3 of them. So it's quite rare that you'll see this in a Tyranid army, but it's a total there of 5 lictors, 1 unit of 3, 1 unit of 2. And they're there to infiltrate at the start of the game or to arrive by deep strike, turn 2 onwards. And they're just to lurk, to hide. They're just the vanguard, the first part that comes in. They can shoot as they arrive. They've got the flesh hooks, some strength 6 shots there, so they can ambush units if you want to, or the rear armour or side armour of vehicles, very handy. Sliving talons and rending claws, so if I get this right, it's 3 attacks basic, +1 for the 2 sets of weapons, so it's 4 attacks, charging 5 attacks, nice lot of attacks. Rending ability, and their strength 6 anyway, so they're nasty in combat. Very high initiative, they count as having the grenades, so they're going to get to go first. Stealth as well, so they're hard to kill. Toughness 4 is not bad. 5 up save, but you're going to take advantage of cover with that +1 for stealth. So I think they're a very impressive unit, and they can be like the Pathfinder type, early units that arrive or are already there to help coordinate the attack with the rest of the forces. So lictors are in, and I think it'll take a while to master them, but I think there's great potential in those for elites. So that's 2 elite slots used up, and these guys are to help coordinate and work with the main assault. That's it for elite, so I'm going to go on now to fast attack, and they're not as popular perhaps as they used to be, but I've gone for Raveners again. When I've put in previous games with the old codex, they've performed very well. Key with these is to remember that they're beasts. These are the old models here, but I still like them. So they're beasts, they're going to move 12, they're going to charge and move fast, which is exactly what I want for the force. Their strength and toughness 4, which is fine, toughness 4 is good. They're 3 wounds each as well. So there's actually 18 wounds for the opponent to deal with. 5 up save, it's not too bad. 3 attacks is good. Initiative 5 is very good. They can deep strike, and then I didn't used to take them, but I have paid the points here. I paid an extra 5 points each, and then given the whole unit rending claws. So they've now got that ability to chew through heavy armour, take on vehicles, other monstrous creatures. So dynamic unit there. I can bring them, have them on the table, move them up quick. I can bring them on from reserve, they can move up quick, or I can deep strike them in. And then, as I said earlier about the lictors, I can deep strike them in very accurately to help join us. The lictors have come up with some trouble. They need help. I can deep strike these in, pinpoint exactly right next to where the lictors are, and then in the next turn they can engage. So I think they're a good choice to have in the force. Another nightmare of unit for the opponent to deal with. He can't ignore them, he has to deal with those. So good potential there. You've got for the Raveners 3 attacks basic. Again, 2 pairs of sliving talons, or I'll swap 1 pair out for the rending claws. So you're going to get an extra attack for them as well. Then 1 on the charge. If these 6 are able to charge in, then you have 30 attacks at weapon skill 5, strength 4, rending, and initiative 5 as they go in. So good unit choice, I think. Right, next choice here, and if you've seen the Tyranid painting tutorial, if you want to know how these are painted, you can see it's the same technique for all of the units. Check out the painting tutorial for Tyranids. I'll show you exactly how it's done. Very fast and effective technique. You don't have to do red. You can swap the base colours out. You can go for creams and greens and blues and whatever. Change the colours around. I've gone for red and sort of the orange and yellows and whites, but you can swap that out to something else. Check out that painting tutorial if you want to know how these are painted. If you've seen the painting tutorial, then you'll recognise this unit. It's the Hive Crone. So I was wary in this force of lack of air cover. I have the Hive Tyrant with the wings, but I knew that wouldn't be enough. So Games Workshop then released the Hive Crone and the Harpy. It was the Hive Crone that did it for me. I think that's the best one. With the tentaclids, they fire at twin links. You can fire them at other flyers. Ability to knock off some points there with the haywire. that's pretty good going. And then as ground support for an assault coming in with that draw cannon which fires a template, I think that's a good weapon to have as well. So I've gone for hive crown. It's 155 points. You get 5 wounds, so for a fly monstrous creature it's pretty good. Strength and toughness 5, 3 attacks, and a save of 4+. I did have spare points for this one, and I gave him regenerate as well. So if he's flying about, he takes wounds. He can then regenerate a wound each turn on a 4+. So pretty happy with that. To have him in the force, and he's got a good. I also took him because he has that raking strike. So when he flies over other monstrous creatures or other flyers, he'll hit at strength 8, which is nice high strength to hit a flyer with. So do like the hive crown, nice model, and it's good to have a proper flyer in the force. This adds speed. He can come in from reserve. He doesn't have to. He can start in gliding mode, I believe, but he can come in from reserve, and say there's a unit's advancing on the lictors, whatever, he can come in, draw cannon them, and provide some additional support. So it's pinpoint support. You can come at any point at the table and help out against wherever the danger is for the ground forces, and also a bit of air cover as well. Another unit that's going to be a nightmare for the opponent to deal with. He's now got a flying monstrous creature that's flying about all over the table. So he's in, and I'm glad to have him in the force. So that's fast attack. We've used up 2, Ravener and the hive crown, and that's it. So what we got left is heavy support, and I've used up all 3 slots here. Sadly, Carnifex, you're wondering where I've been getting all these extra points from. If you've seen the previous forces for the Tyranids, I've dropped the Carnifexes. Was a big believer in them, still am really. Strength 9 is their unmodified base strength, which is still really good. But smash attack hurt them. You only get 1 attack now, which isn't as good for them. A bit slow, which was a disadvantage in other games. So they've been dropped out. With the points I've managed to get, like the air cover for the force, but also I've been able to increase the number of other heavy support units. You'll see what I mean. So first of all, I had him in the previous force and he's back in. Trigon, pretty much the same as he was. So 2 pairs of Siren Talons, so he's got a base of 5. He'll get an extra 1, that's 6, so a base of 6 attacks. It's really, really good. Strength and toughness 6 wounds. So again, very high amount of wounds. So I've upgraded him, he's 190 points, 30 points extra, and I've given him regenerate. So that's 220 points for him. He's fearless, deep strike, he's sub-training assault, so he can come up, and then other units from reserve can come out from that hole, but that's not the important point. The fact is that he's a monstrous creature that can turn up anywhere. And again, he can coordinate that if he needs to. He can come up very accurately with working with the lictors there, or he can come up on his own wherever. Usually in previous games you see that I've brought up these deep strikers at different points in the table, so the opponent's having to split his force all over the place to deal with them. Sometimes that can work really well. So he can turn up, the opponent's got to deal with him, he can't ignore him, and he can just run around shredding all different units and vehicles. So he's in for sure. Then with a spare point to drop the Carnifexes, I've then taken a second Trigon. Second Trigon, I've done this one as a prime, I haven't had the points for it, but it's the same loadout as this guy. Regenerate again, so it's another 6 wound monstrous creature, and with regenerate, so that's another nightmare for the opponent. Or just this overwhelming the opponent with wounds to deal with. He couldn't possibly take out all of those wounds in a turn, so it creates a real headache for the opponent to deal with. And if he doesn't deal with them, then these monstrous creatures are free to charge in and cause havoc in the enemy lines. So another Trigon's in, And then in previous armies, I have had a Morlock, and the Morlock is back in. So I've now got a Morlock as well, and I'm sure you can see on the screen there, there's quite a collection of nasty beasts. It's a Tyranid monster army. I'm very excited about using this. So the Morlock's in, giving him regenerate as well. He's got 6 wounds, now the ability to regenerate as well. Only base of 3 attacks, but it is that subterranean assault ability. Then if I can coordinate that with the lictors, he will never scatter if he comes up within 6 inches of those. So say a unit of heavy infantry is closing in on the lictors, I can then deep strike him in. They won't scatter, so that large blast mark will come up precisely as I want it to, and then he can assault them from underneath, and the rules for it are really good. Excited about having him in the force. He's done well in previous games. He's eaten up some units from underneath, so nice aspect, brilliant rules for the Morlock. Really enjoy having it. He's cheap, he's only 140 points. That makes it 170 with regenerate. It's actually a cheap model to have, a definite inclusion in the force. So that's it for the Tyranids. You can see the screen there full of monsters, which is exactly how I wanted the army to go. Not as big as some Tyranid forces can be, but those missing smaller figures and troops, I can breed those each turn, and the army can fill out and get bigger and bigger. And you can imagine the intimidation as the opponent, each turn, that Tyranid force gets bigger and bigger. So that force there is precisely 1850 points as I've worked it out. So I hope you can see the potential it has there, sort of the way it's going to work. Right, so there it is. That's the whole army laid out. You can see the Hive Tyrant, there's the HQ, he'll join in the assault. And then the defensive part of the force here, you've got the Tervagon, 30 gaunts, and then he can breed a unit of these each turn. He'll just sit there back at the objectives. The Hive Crones to offer a bit of air cover to deal with other enemy flyers, and at the same time he can support the ground units as well. Then you've got your lictors here, Unit 2, Unit 3, they're the ones that go ahead of the main force. They're to help bring in the deep strikers for accurate stuff, provide a bit of cover, and I think they'll do a good job. And it's the challenge for this force is to coordinate the assault part of the army, bring it in and linking it up with the lictors. So you'll see that in future battle reports. See if that tactic actually pulls off. It's not the biggest Tyranid army you can field. I've invested points into the monstrous creatures, but making them higher quality and more durable, I think it's a Tyranid force that potentially could last for the whole game. You know, units here being destroyed, being replaced, wounds being taken, being regenerated, so there's potential there in the force to stay intact for a large part of the game. And that's one of the big challenges for Tyranids, is to keep your force alive whilst the opponent tries to bring them down before you reach his position. Ravenor's just a bit of support. Good potential, that unit there. The opponent can't ignore them. He has to deal with that unit. They're fast moving, we've seen it in previous battle reports. And then coming across those 3 monstrous creatures, so in between those one Morlock, 2 Trigons, there's 18 wounds there, and all 3 of those have got regenerate, loads of attacks, good high strength, good toughness, nightmares for the opponents to deal with. And then one of the keys for a force is to add up how many anti-tank units you have, units that are able to take out tanks either by shooting or combat. It's one of the rules that I try and stick to have a high amount as possible. So you've got 1, 2, 3, these 3 can do it. He can, that's 4, 5, 6, 7 with rending, and then these potentially 8, 9. So about 9, which is a high amount. That's not pretty good. So that's the force there. Very happy with it. I think it has potential, but it's untested at the moment. Elements that I have used before and have been successful with. I've dropped out the slower parts of the force. Carnifexes are gone, and then the Hive Tyrant, just with the Hive Guard, those are gone as well. So I dropped out the Carnifexes, they were the slower part of the army, and then also the Hive Tyrant and the Tyrant Guard are gone as well. And with those spare points I invested in the Flyer, the extra Trigon, and the Lictors, and that's given me I think a good mobile force with some pinpoint deep strikers and some toughness and monstrous creatures for the opponent to deal with. But there it is, that's the force. We'll see how well it does. Check out the other Tactica videos that we have for the different armies. You'll see the philosophies behind them. You can get to see the whole army as it is, and the way that it works, or the philosophy behind them. Check out the painting tutorial for Tyranids, and there's a load of battle reports already with the Tyranids, but keep a lookout for new ones coming up where we can see how well this army performs. So there it is, Tyranid Army, 1850 points. How well will it do? Leave your comments, also any other tactical tips or other units that you take that you find very effective for Tyranids. This video really is going to be sort of the homepage for this Tyranid force. So thanks for watching the video, and tune in next time.